Speaker. We are very pleased to welcome today radio personality, conservative at WVON out of Chicago. He is an author, and he has come today, which is unusual for him, I understand. He speaks off the cuff quite a bit, with prepared remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, out of the windy city, Chicago, Lenny McCallister.
Good afternoon, fellow Illinoisans. Good afternoon, my fellow Americans. Thank you for having me this afternoon, but more importantly, thank you for collectively saying loudly and clearly, we love America, we believe in America, and we know that with a focused effort by 21st century local, state, and federal leaders, from the grassroots to the General Assembly, we will see the resurgence of a fiscally, socially, and economically strong America for plenty of generations to come. Let me also say thank you to Rhonda Linders and her team for their invitation and support to make it possible for me to be here today. Thanks also to the Northern Illinois Patriots and the Chicago Tea Party for their hospitality at their recent meetings and allowing me to speak there. Now, as you know, we come to Springfield, Illinois today, gathering together to make a big deal over a big tax hike at a rather paramount moment in time in the history of our state and of our nation. Particularly here in Illinois, it is becoming quite clear that any time a huge tax hike in the land of Lincoln is enough to make a big governor in New Jersey, or should I say a big-boned governor in New Jersey. Anytime the big man in New Jersey is making a large plea for Illinois-based businesses to make a grand move from our state to his, well, folks, you know we have a big problem that we must address immediately with no small delay. Despite the constant slander and slurs thrown out about our movement and against us personally, we come here today to speak above the fray of distractions to reclaim our harmony, the harmony that our nation deserves. I say thank you. Thank you to those that have supported my efforts to take our message to the masses, and thank you to those that have come out to the state capitol today on the path to taking our mission to another level. Even though we have to maintain overcoming the distracting false accusations of us being hateful, us being racist, us being misguided, and us being misinformed. So today we look to putting America back on the track of prosperity, even as we also set aside those undue criticisms to say loudly and clearly. Some accuse us of being hateful. Well, yes, we are hateful, but not in the way that you suggest. See, we hate that special interest groups have dictated to elected officials for decades that the way to make government function is by making government spend more. Even if that means that the people that government represents get less and less with each dollar spent. We hate that politicians are more willing to demonize the conservative movement than they are to defund special interest groups or reduce the inefficiencies of bureaucracy that strangles the breath out of the American dream for working class people that seek to advance themselves and their families through the Great Recession and into our next great era of prominence. As well, we are here to say without equivocation, we seek to inspire revolutionary change for a future for all Americans. Not a return to the racism of the past that we're accused of, the racism that restricted the potential of all Americans. Our movement understands that with greater efficiency from government and lower economic inhibitors by government, more Americans can be empowered past their current conditions into the promise of their individual dreams, a vision that supersedes even the economic strangulation given by the recent legislative powers that Springfield bequeathed to the four corners of the land of Lincoln. We understand that smaller government must mean bigger people. And with bigger people come greater people from all walks of life, from all creeds and colors, and with all of them professing the United States of America as their home. With all of those great people proclaiming the USA as the protector of their rights and opportunities afforded by God, not by government. And with those great people serving, once again, that indeed the United States of America is the shining city on a hill for the world to see, just as patriots did before us as they fought on battlefields afar and in the hearts and minds of our fellow countrymen. Now we are here to ask those that call us misinformed and misguided when we say that our national debt and runaway love affair with spending and taxation and bureaucracy threaten the freedoms that we hold as citizens. We ask them this: explain to us your path to liberating and refreshing sovereignty based on your current trend of doing business in America. But before you answer that question, simply remember this: we have already seen your path. It leads to exploding debt, suffocating bureaucracy, and self-serving government. We know your path. However, we also know our path. And simply put, our path leads to freedom. As a sovereign nation, the United States must have a resurgence of economic freedom, personal vitality, and national perseverance that allows people to come together as a rebuilt, recalibrated, and re-emboldened country that has a strengthened moral compass and civic backbone. It's impossible for us to encourage that resurgence of shoulders back and head held high American forthright consciousness when we are constantly taxing our citizens into submission and chasing businesses from our communities because of politicians' failure to act as leaders before the procrastinated decisions of yesterday became our shared economic crisis of today. Furthermore, we cannot have the sturdy and straight backbone of a strong and sovereign nation if we must always bend over and grovel at the feet of foreign debtors to borrow more money, buy more foreign oil, and use more outsourced workers because of our inability to enact fiscal discipline, our failure to have economic vision to compete globally, and our unwillingness to trust the power of the American people and unchain the ingenuity and diligence of this nation's citizens. At a time when America is challenged domestically by harrowing disparities between fellow citizens within the realms of education, economic opportunities, and quality of life, and at a time when America is threatened internationally by radical terrorists and oppressive regimes alike, we cannot uphold the tenets of the American dream within our borders and around the world if we continue to jack up and justify our debt, even as we continuously squander away the resources we do have through expansive government and expensive bureaucracy. We are weakened in our ability to withstand the auspices of socialism and secularism, of radicalism abroad, and rolling back the clock to more divisive and hypocritical times here at home. If we continue to tolerate our inclination to increase debt ceilings and decrease opportunities in America for Americans. This trend merely whittles away the hopes of future generations of Americans, both black and white, both working class and legacy, both men and women. For the lost freedom to achieve and succeed every day for everyday Americans is a millstone that drowns the aspirations of well-to-do Americans to be leaders with a legacy of honor, not leeches feeding off of the struggles of their fellow countrymen. Americans of all creeds and colors deserve each day to have the ability to pursue happiness and reach for prosperity. Tea Party Americans of all creeds and all colors are the lifeblood of a movement to reestablish that expectation for our children and grandchildren starting right now. We understand that the resurgence of the American Republic has no roots solely in a politician or his selected candidates that will bring us change that we can't believe in or hope that we can get change, even when Main Street continues to struggle, even after Wall Street was bailed out on Main Street's dime. That's why we gather together today and say this. We know that American partisan politics will never save this nation. Only forthright American leadership will. We know that American leadership on Capitol Hill today and in Springfield in the days to come yields results only when representative government is held accountable to those they serve in office. We, the people of this state and of this great nation. We know that without our presence here today and our movement over the past several years, opportunities would continue to be squandered and America, as we know it, would soon cease to exist. Now some will come to us and say that we must trust the president more and trust the governor more and give them more time to build their case for prosperity. In reply, I say this today. If a president and his political movement and allies can come to power in Washington and Springfield with historic political capital, global affection, and wide-sweeping potential, only to let the political and ethical high ground seep away because of a rush stimulus package that failed to keep unemployment at 8% nationally, that a post-partisan change can be bubbled away through the unconstitutional and costly health care package that wishes to tax Americans into purchasing decisions for the first time in American history after a series of political bribes in Congress that excluded your will as constituents, but made sure it included Cornhusker kickbacks and Louisiana purchases. If hope for a better way for all Americans can become disturbingly silent on issues of race relations after garnering 98% of the black vote, while simultaneously speaking up for the rights and the residency rights of illegal immigrants and the civil rights of terrorists and murderers, enemies of America, if the political argument of demagoguery against funding a war in Iraq becomes lost while delaying an explanation on why we are now funding a third war effort in Libya at a time when we cut funding for college students here in America, ask to raise taxes on job creators in America, and yet continue funding abortion services both domestically and internationally at a time of great deficit. If this political capital, this political currency, if you will, if it can be wasted so questionably and so tragically in such a short period of time, what do you leave their tax dollars in Washington, D.C. or in Springfield if the runaway debt and spending remains unbridled under this type of political leadership. In the darkness of night, Governor Quinn and his political allies showed the people of Illinois their willingness to forfeit the future through lack of vision today to pay for the mismanagement of the distant and recent past. In the shadow of a supermajority in Washington, President Obama and his allies showed Illinois and America their willingness to discard the need to put America back on track of fiscal responsibility and economic and employment vitality for the sake of political philosophy. And because of that, we come today and we say this: we are not misguided, we are not misinformed. We have merely just been misrepresented by the political powers that be for far too long, but the time for that to end, again, is right now. We have seen the yield of this failure of leadership for years now by self-serving politicians on both sides of the aisle. The brink of bankruptcy is born from years of big government and redundant bureaucracy. From believing that because we did it one way for years, we should continue to do it the same exact way, even if it drives us off the fiscal cliff. It comes from not having a big enough vision to see a brighter future for our state and the state of our union without big government and eventually Big Brother being a part of every aspect of our lives. Yet at a time when apathy ran roughshod across America, your activism sparked accountability on both sides of the political aisle. It is only through your activism that started in 2006 and overflowed in 2009, that you came together and you say today and henceforth, no longer are we going to sit by and watch folks spend away the American dream from their perch in Washington or in Springfield. Not on our watch any longer, gentlemen, and not on our dime. See, we were apathetic before, but now we are awake, we are paying attention, and we will not rest until we take back America. We are here not just to honor America's history. We are here today in the effort to make American history. And not just to make history, but to make the right type of history. Blind adherence to the ways of the past without the flexibility of vision is symptomatic of the political mainstream, not a characteristic of American leadership. For example, President Obama on Wednesday said, and I quote, "Wealthier individuals have traditionally borne a greater share of the tax burden than the middle class or those less fortunate." Sadly, he slipped into this pattern of believing and promoting a model that was done in previous times, so it must be done today and it must be right. Let's use that model in the same context. By that model, traditionally, from 1619 to the middle of the 20th century, black people in the United States were either state-sanctioned second-class citizens or flat-out slaves. Is that a model we should continue to follow? No! As we gather proudly in the land of Lincoln, the land of the great emancipator, we stand to remind the President humbly but clearly, the only tradition that we must uphold in America at all times is the tradition of freedom. For peace, for prosperity, and for the pursuit of happiness that's guaranteed in the Declaration of Independence. We are here to take back America from the brink of losing its sovereignty to the self-existing existence of unresponsive government that ignores the Constitution and the law in order to continue its personal gravy train. We are here to take ownership of foreign debt to nations that believe in telling its citizens how many children to have by law and restraining their access to freedom of speech and to facts and figures by way of government oppression. Is that who we want to be indebted to? We come together to protest that, but we are here today to do even more. We're here to extol the rebirth of American exceptionalism. American exceptionalism, a concept lost on too many of our politicians in sanctuary cities, are you listening, Chicago, and capital cities across the nation. We understand that economic freedom as a nation affords us more breathing room to stand for the beauty of humble but meaningful expression of the power captured within American exceptionalism. We know that we find ourselves at a time in our nation's history where we are required to stand for fiscal correctness, but we also must stand and face our historical obligations to past patriots of all creeds that demand that we exude leadership that doles out the belief in American exceptionalism, not apologies for America to other nations at the drop of our handout hat every time we need to borrow more money. Our task yesterday was just to request and require that overtaxation and overspending cease throughout the taxed enough already party momentum. Our task today and beyond is to improve all aspects of America through a new Tea Party momentum. A TEA party movement that touts the exceptionalism of America. TEA. Yes, we should and we must take back America through touting the exceptionalism of America. But we must do this through embracing the potential for exceptionalism throughout all of America. Without finding big potential in all things American, we will never be able to beat back big government and big spending in America. So yes, Tea Party Patriots, we are here today to take back America. But we can never successfully take back America until we take back urban America and the youth of America. We are one nation. The Patriots fighting for fiscal correctness and responsibility in California will never be able to be successful if they refuse to battle the conditions that lead to government reliance in Compton, California. Just the same, Tea Party Patriots protesting the scope of government in the land of Dixie will never find victory if they are not engaging the social conditions that expand government in Atlanta and Decatur, Georgia. And just the same, I challenge you all today. We cannot find fiscal sanity here in the land of Lincoln, from Carbondale to Elgin, if we collectively continue to tolerate the insanity found on the streets of South Chicago and East St. Louis, Illinois. The onslaught of American sovereignty, both domestically and globally, through the collective fiscal crisis encountered at all civic levels, cannot be overcome without overturning the slaughter of America's youth in the violent streets of our communities and throughout the abominations of waste and unprofessionalism that collectively masquerade as our educational system and standards for our children in elementary and high schools nationally. Not only can we not even attempt to take back America without looking at the whole picture, we couldn't do it even if we wanted to, despite our passion and our patriotism. The honesty found within the ideal sense of American exceptionalism will not allow us to do so. See, big government, big taxation, and big bureaucracy they believe in the Great Society, a movement that failed us all through the trials and tribulations of social engineering, funded by your tax dollars. The role of smaller governments and the role of bigger people in in America believe instead in the pursuit and protection of social equality in America, where it is better for the American people, through their caring, their innovation, and their desire to put their time and resources where their faith in America is without unnecessary interference from the government. And I believe that it is only through American people taking the lead to improve our economic and employment situations as well as our neighborhoods and communities, only through that can we truly take back America. That is why our radio station in Chicago, WVON 1690 AM, went out of our way to raise over $60,000 for the young people of the Martin Luther King Jr. Boys and Girls Club in Chicago. We knew that if we waited for government to do right on behalf of young people that needed it the most, we risked more casualties to ad nauseum bureaucracy, fed on by ad nauseum government spending, all while those that needed it the most got less. That's why I'm stepping up, asking WVON to do more, and I'm asking comfortably my fellow conservative political commentators, the Glenn Becks, the Rush Limbaughs, those that can't afford to take a step up, to match our $60,000 effort, to join us immediately in aiding the efforts of those working to take back America in the broadest sense, whether it be in Chicago with the Boys and Girls Clubs or with some other organization. With this effort, we can remind the government once again, a strong society of empowered citizens does not come from government-guided social engineering that is empowered by your tax dollars. It comes from embracing the Constitution, enforcing equality, and reintroducing American exceptionalism from Harlem to Beverly Hills. With a strong and consolidated effort, we can again resonate the time-tested message that we report again today, that the liberal agenda of taxing and spending has never had a liberating effect on the inner cities of our nation, nor on the struggling Americans that cannot escape the perils of dependency and its cycles of poverty and despair. Without revitalizing the truest essence of the American dream for many of the forgotten within America, those lost within the urban centers of our nation, where 80% of our countrymen live, without providing hope through shrinking government and increasing opportunities and efficiencies, we are unable to take back America for us all. That is why I conclude in telling you that our TEA party movement, our taxed enough already party movement, must also be a TEA party that touts exceptionalism in America if we are to take back the America that we grew up knowing and loving. If you will, stay with me just 2 minutes. A taxed enough already movement requires that the people demand accountability from its government before they don the gauntlets to commence a revolution. A touting of exceptionalism of America invites our current politicians to reconsider their position, even as we work to usher in a renaissance that removes their wasteful mindset from elected office. In a revolt, the energy can be divisive and the warring can be destructive. But in our renaissance today, our passion can be peaceful, the people can be vigilant, and our power within our diversity can be embraced without slander or slight. Our TEA party, both from before today and that of now, seeks not to divide America and lock out Americans like the past 2 years of leadership in Washington and the past few months here in Springfield. We seek to come together in a tax day revolt to bring to our state and to our nation a new day of renaissance in Illinois and throughout America. Our renaissance shares a common vision for us all, from the projects in Inglewood to the mansions in Evanston. It is a vision showing us that without expensive and expansive government driving jobs from our communities to weaken employment, without government promoting social engineering programs that destroy black families, and without government propping up self-serving bureaucrats and big spending liberals to pamper themselves through inefficient and ineffective government. That if we have government restraint, we can claim a new unity, re-embrace 360-degree accountability, and truly indeed take back America. For those gathered here today in Springfield and for those throughout America that could not be with us today, I implore you, yesterday was a time for you to have a taxed enough already party. But for today and beyond, we must also tout the exceptionalism of America, stop partying, and get to work. It is up to us to tout excellence throughout our nation and successfully reclaim the promised, the forgotten, the lost, and the best of America. The opportunity to uplift America in all facets of society throughout smaller government and bigger people is upon us. The work to be done and improve America is all around us. Our neighbors pleading for us to be leaders are calling on us from the holler to the hills. And the obligations from our ancestors, from Africa and Austria to Ireland and Italy, are beckoning to us, simply saying, "Beloved Patriots, your time is now."